But I also believe passionately that there's 8 billion people on the planet and somebody needs what you've got.
Yeah.
Your job is to go find those people. Just be who you are because
Mhm.
somebody needs what you've got. You don't necessarily need to get 25 more certifications. If you want to, go for it. But probably what you've got right now is good for the other 8 billion people on the planet. You just need to find them and they need to find you.
Welcome to the Career Change for Women podcast. I'm Brittany Cates, career coach and fellow career shifter, here to help you leave unfulfilling work behind. Every Thursday, I share stories, strategies, and confidence-boosting insights to help you gain clarity, take action, and create a career you love. Let's shift your day job together. Today's guest is Brenda Rigney, a coach who helps midlife women step into their full potential as business owners. After 27 years of building multi-million-dollar brands and mentoring CEOs, Brenda made a bold shift, starting with her own business after a life-changing divorce. She reset her life, focusing on her health, setting boundaries, and aligning with her true vision. Now she coaches women in their 40s, 50s, and beyond, helping them break free from hustle culture and build businesses that bring in 10K or more a month. Brenda's mission is clear. The world needs more successful, innovative, and unstoppable women in business. If you're ready to take that next step, this episode is for you. So let's dive in and welcome Brenda to the podcast. Hi, Brenda. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. I'm like, that sounds good. I know I work with that.
I know. I feel that way when I listen to my podcast and I'm like, that was me. That's cool. Good one.
So we should all say things about ourselves. Yeah, who is that person? I want to spend more time with them.
Yeah. Yeah, you sound very impressive on paper. Maybe it doesn't feel like that's what you do, but it is, right?
And I wear sweatpants on the bottom like everybody else.
Yeah, right. Um, but tell us a little bit about how you got here to this, to what you're doing today. What did your career look like from the start, and how has it
Mhm.
evolved over time? And how do you serve women now?
It's a funny question to ask because I think people think of me as being a very intentional person, and I am for the large degree. But I would probably say on the lifespan of like my career, I've just fallen into opportunities. So partly it's like schooling, upbringing, like access to that. So I'm eternally grateful for parents and family members that have guided me along the way. But I started my business career like getting into business and being entrepreneurial, but really helping other entrepreneurs out. I've always said that I've been entrepreneurial and creative that way, but it was like literally I was like, 21 years old. I was graduating from university. I really didn't know what I was going to do. I was like sitting on the edge of my roommate's bed one night. Like we just finished finals, packing up our stuff, leaving university to go back home. And she was working at the Gap at the time. This is like early 90s. And Gap was just starting to come into Canada. We had it like in major city centers, but it wasn't as well known as the US. And she was starting to work there part-time just to put her way through university. And she's like, you should get a job at the Gap. And I was like, okay, sure. So she set me up with the district manager in Vancouver because I was going to school in Eastern Canada and she knew the district manager out there or somehow got me connected to them. And I had an interview with them literally like 3 days after I got off the plane, coming back home from university. They hired me into their assistant manager and training program at the time. And it really catapulted my career in business. I didn't even really think too much about business, even though I came from a family of entrepreneurs and I had a degree in political science. So I was just like, I'm probably going to do this for a year and then go to law school. I stayed for 15 years. I loved my experience at the Gap. And it really just taught me everything about business. At the time, the company was still being run by the Fishers, which was the family that started the Gap. The kids were still involved heavily into the operations. So it felt like a family-owned business, although it was opening and expanding rapidly around the world. And I just came in at a really great time because they were just launching the international division. So if you were young, mobile, didn't have to worry about like where you lived, you could just live in a shoebox and like travel with the company. Like they would literally just send you anywhere to open up Gap stores.
Ooh.
So I signed up and I did it. It was like the Peace Corps for retail. It was just like if you're young and able and like anywhere you can go, they'll just send you there. And they did. And it was a great experience to learn about business and leadership and how to run operations and make money and work with customers, like literally everything you could possibly imagine with business.
Mhm.
Now it's different. It's this behemoth. It's like what we know out of it today. I still think it's a great experience working in retail for young people. wanting to learn about operations and management and business. And then my career just progressed from there.
Mhm. Yeah, that's very cool. I love how you're like, "Oh, it just happened."
Literally just happened.
You went with the flow
Yeah.
and discovered along the way. And that's really a message that I like to share often is the more action you take, the clearer you become on, okay, is this for me? Is this not for me? And obviously that situation was for you because you stayed for 15 years. Like that's amazing. And yet people get scared to even try something that they
Yeah.
weren't even planning per se, right? Like,
And again, it was just, I was in a situation where I was able to make those moves. I didn't necessarily have a lot of responsibilities at that time in my early 20s. So when people were saying, hey, do you want to move here? Do you want to go do this for 6 weeks or 6 months? I was like, yeah, sure, let's go.
yeah.
And probably I was like one of the last of my friends to get married. So back then it was like there was maybe some of the family members going like, when are you going to settle down? And why is this career thing so important to you? And it wasn't like I was trying to make a statement like, oh, women's careers are the most important things, although I do believe that. Again, like from an intentionality standpoint, I was just having fun, learning, and the opportunities were available to me. And I think, like you said, if I was willing to take action and wanting to get in there, like it was like the opportunities were endless. Since then, I think as I've grown up and matured and I got married and I had kids and there's like now responsibilities, there's obligations. Like I couldn't just pick up and leave as my kids are in school and they've got soccer. And so it's okay. Now you have to really start making some more intentional decisions about what you're doing. But I still held on to the behaviors or learnings that I took from my experience at the Gap that I can try things. I don't necessarily, like, not everything has to be like perfectly laid out. And my career has like always been like that. I've worked for pretty dynamic organizations and brands. And then when I made the move to go into entrepreneurship, a lot of people said, did you have the 6 month runway saved up? Did you have the 12-month plan? No. As you told everybody in the beginning, like I wasn't feeling good about sort of things that were happening in my personal life at the time. I was going through my divorce and we weren't even doing that very well. Once we made the decision to get a divorce, it was like, okay, yeah, who's gonna take the first step? Who's gonna talk to the lawyers? Like you have to really think about divorce as being like an operational like project. You need to show up to meetings, you need to get things moving. Otherwise it just lingers around for a couple of years. For me, it was like an obvious decision to quit my job. A lot of people look back on it and said to me, was that a rash decision? I was like, no, I had a decision to quit my job, focus on getting my kids settled, getting myself settled, because I felt like our life was in limbo. Because it's not just the divorce, it's the lead up to the divorce, it's the unhappiness built on unhappiness. So I felt a lot of things that I was like holding off making decisions on or taking action on in my life were just in limbo, just floating by. So me taking a year off and then getting the divorce settled, getting that closed off, getting the kids, you know, grounded on where they needed to go, getting myself grounded, then I could actually start thinking about wanting to do that next thing, which for me was entrepreneurship. So
Yeah. Thank you for sharing about the divorce and being it's not like it happened and then there's one side and the other. It's like the buildup and the actual going through it and then figuring out what's next.
yeah.
It really is a bigger process than just, oh, I went through that thing. And yeah,
Yeah, and
definitely
there's
relatable.
also, like, the aftermath of divorce too, like, especially if you have kids, some type of shared assets together, some people have businesses together, they still have property together. You're still in that co-working relationship. Even now that my kids are out of the house and they're on their path to adulthood, we still share a dog together, so we have to figure that out sometimes. So I think that divorce is never, like, one and done, but you have to. I guess the other thing is the big thing for me was I could see myself, my ambitions or my plans or my getting more intentional around choices I was making was not happening because it was like, oh, the divorce is lingering. So I needed to get that done. And then I could actually see myself taking on the idea of other things that were possible for me, like being in another relationship or traveling or starting my own business, which was the big thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that you talked about early on when your life situation changed, then the types of career opportunities that you could take
Mm.
changed. And here's another life change that you're experiencing, and your decisions around your career are different now, right? You felt like not working for a year was going to serve you better at this time in your life, and that prepared you for what came next in the decision making of now I'm going to be an entrepreneur, right? And so we definitely have to take into account all the seasons of our lives and how our career is allowed to evolve with us. It doesn't have to stay the same, even though there is this illusion of, oh, I pick a job, I work in it for 30 years, nothing ever changes for me, even though you obviously are changing over that 30-year span. You're life is
Yeah, no, well,
evolving.
yeah, and I think that's a learning in itself there is you could say, "Oh, I'm just gonna stay in this career for a long time," and many people do, and, like, parents, grandparents, all successful in doing those type of choices. I think it was just like, the divorce was, like, a little bit of a wake-up call to say, "Hey, things have been running status quo." Because you haven't necessarily been happy in your personal life, you said no to a lot of things that could have brought more happiness, more success on your terms. Because you almost get to a point, and this is how it was for me, I can't speak to anybody else that's going through and obviously a disclaimer on the side, if you are in a harmful relationship, do what you need to do to feel safe. But for me, it was like it wasn't that. It was just we had drifted apart and we weren't together. Then it's oh, staying for the kids or doing something noble like that. And I all of that sort of was a message to me of okay, we're not actually being intentional. We're just letting days go by and turns into months, turns into years.
Yeah.
And it was like years of just like coasting. And I keep using the word limbo, but it was like, should we go for a vacation? We actually don't really want to spend time together. So then we don't go for vacations and I'm a travel geek. Like I love going to other countries. I love immersing myself in other cultures. So gradually I felt myself moving further and further away from my values, what was important to me. And then it was just I'm just coasting, I'm just keeping the peace. I don't want to disrupt anything, but it also created a lot more other disruptions in my life because I wasn't grounded on like where I was going in my relationships or with myself in my career because I wasn't focused on making decisions around my values, other things started to creep in, like spending time with people that weren't good for me and taking on jobs or projects or assignments that I didn't really want to do that didn't motivate me. And but then always having to be productive and always doing things like the good girl way. And so I think there's just something there that I like started to slowly unpack is that when you are, I'm with this person or these group of people, or I'm doing this work, or I'm spending time living in this city because I want to, because I'm choosing to, and I set that intentional vision for my life. And now I've got values that are supporting all of my decision making. So if I need to decide to go left or right, I just go to my values. My values will tell me go left or go right. I don't have to wait on something for months or years or wait for a star to fall from the sky to tell me whether or not I should take that directional turn in my career or my life. I make that decision based off of my vision, my values, and then I set goals in place for myself. But all of that was just I was progressing, and if you look at my LinkedIn profile, it's, "Oh, yeah, she's moving up, she's moving to different companies," because some of those things are very obvious to do in corporate organizations. It's yeah, you go from manager to director to VP, they do it, and as long as you do good work, you can pretty much move up pretty quickly in a lot of situations. And again, disclaimer, I know that's not always the case for some people and based off of race or other harmful discriminatory factors, but in a lot of cases that can work or that's how organizations are structured. But in your life, I think that's the other thing that also happened for me is this realization that beyond like sort of 20s, 30s, the checklist that maybe I was educated on or informed about in my early years about go to school, get the job, get married, get the dog, get the house, get the kids. I was like, okay, yeah, I got all of that. And I'm not feeling fulfilled. And should I be ungrateful? Because some that was also some feedback or advice that I had gotten from some people is like, you should just be more grateful for what you've got. And I was like, it's not that I'm not grateful for fulfilling on that checklist that everyone told me I should be doing for someone my age or my upbringing. But I was like, what's next after that checklist? And I think that's where in that year that I took off between quitting my job and starting my business and getting divorced, I also reinvested in defining that for myself.
Mhm. Yeah. Thank you for sharing all of that. I think it's so valuable to hear your perspective, your experience, definitely relatable for people, divorce or even just hard things
Mhm.
coming up. And I think it is very normal to get to a point in your life of now what? And I love that we're talking about being grounded in our values, because that really is the place where if we can determine what those are, that's going to be our roadmap to our decision making and towards being intentional about the decisions we're making. So I thank you for sharing that.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
I want to talk about what inspired you to start your entrepreneurial business.
Actually, my kids, I think that was the thing. Like they were pretty young at the time. They were like, I think maybe 8 or 10, two girls back to back, but they really inspired me in the sense of, mom, you can do anything. And although I had other cheerleaders around me that also said the same thing, I actually felt it was more believable coming from them. I don't, for whatever reason, just because they don't have any other sort of, at that age or at that time in their life, they didn't really have any other reasons not to believe that was true. Or I guess that's the fairest way to describe it. And like through their innocence, I think that's the best thing, right? Other people might say, oh yeah, you can do anything, but then they may still have some other judgments, or it comes up later on. Well, I told you. Okay.
Yeah.
But I think kids sometimes just like shoot from the hip and it's just like purely genuine. So they were definitely, I think, and also I think just the whole idea of, I wanted to also demonstrate to them that it was okay to change things, that you didn't necessarily have to follow a formula that was scripted out by somebody else, or that this is what everyone else is doing on social media or wherever they're getting their influence from, that you can switch things out, even at potentially a low point in your life. And so I was committed to proving out that for myself, but also for them. And as one day emerging women in business or whatever field that they decided to go into, that they could also do that path for themselves. And I think I mentioned it earlier that no one was really ever tapping me on the shoulder at a young age to say, go into entrepreneurship. I discovered that. I fell into it myself. And so I think that is for anyone that's listening that's, say, younger than me. I'm in my 50s, but if you're not getting the mentorship or the coaching, and that's something that you have an inkling towards, go after it and
Mm.
surround yourself with other people that are in that space, because I don't think a lot of women get that conversation early on in their career. And it's something that I think we more or less fall into, than deliberately go, oh, I wake up in the morning and I'm going to become an entrepreneur. Or when I'm 15, I'm thinking I'm going to become an entrepreneur. I think that was fundamentally, I hope I answered that question well enough for you, but
Yeah. No, I love that your daughters were really a big influence in you. And it almost feels an opportunity to just take charge of your life, that point in time where it's I'm now on my own and I'm going to intentionally plan what I wanna do with myself, right? And who I
mm,
wanna work with and how I wanna show up in the world and not have to rely on outside, like a company telling me what
yeah.
this is.
Company or even my ex, right? I think that was the thing that I learned too in my gap year that I took that year off. I actually thought I wasn't, like, I had planned that I wasn't gonna make any money, and that I would just live off of, I had a budget that I would just live off a certain amount of money every month that would pay for, like, kids' expenses, all those type of things, and that I would just really use this year to discover myself. But in that year, I actually ended up fundraising $23,000 for a foundation that I was a part of. I just went out to people on my LinkedIn list and said, "Hey, I'm fundraising and for this effort, and if you would like to contribute to it, that would be amazing." Some people gave me $5, some people gave me 500, but in the span of 6 weeks, I fundraised $23,000.
Yeah.
And that was the first time, like, apart from, like, maybe when I was in, like, in high school where we were selling Christmas trees or chocolate covered almonds for some type of sporting event, that was the first time I'd ever gone out to anybody and asked them for money directly. Now, I had a long history of sales, operations, but it was always selling someone else's product. I could sell baby Gap socks like nobody's business, but to a grandma that's coming in for their new grandchild. But selling something that I was like vested in personally, that was altogether different and very scary. So in the span of 6 weeks, I learned how to like fundraise. I fundraised this offer I sent, went out to my community, and I generated this $23,000. And then 6 months later, a friend of mine who was a consultant said, "Hey, there's a client of mine. I don't have time. I don't have the bandwidth to work with him right now. And it's probably more your wheelhouse. Would you want to consider working with him?" It ended up being like a $35,000 contract, again, for about 2 months of work. And I was like, where's this coming from?
Yeah.
And when I think that was the indication to me, because in that year that I was taking off, I still wasn't sure if I was going to go into entrepreneurship. I had lots of recruiters calling me and saying, "Hey, do you want to do this? Do you want to do this?"
Mm.
You'll come back to corporate, you'll come back to like your executive job, but there was still something that was like, no, just stay curious, stay in the space, take
Mm.
the full year and see what happens. And I'm glad that I did because those two examples was just like, okay, and not to say that for anyone listening, I do believe in manifestation. I do believe in positive affirmations and having a positive attitude towards things. But once you get the positive statement or the affirmation, you still have to do the work. Even though that client popped into my lap because a friend of mine, a colleague of mine said, I still had to go and meet with that person. I still had to sell them something. I still had to deliver on the work to get services rendered. So I think that's the key thing that I always look at. Yes, you need to generate these beliefs about yourself, but you still got to take action. And that's kind of comes back to kind of full circle what we were talking about earlier is that, yeah, like lots of things are possible. There's dreaming on the sidelines or getting on the court, right? And really exercising on that dream.
Yeah. 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 I think that those examples are really helpful to like, they obviously gave you that like motivation or that kind of, I love how you said, stay curious, right? Oh, look what I
Yeah.
did.
And I didn't have a website. I didn't have a business card. Even when I went in for that interview with that client, they're just like, so what's the name of your company? I'm like, I don't have a name, like Brenda Rigney.
Yeah.
Like, I was just like, I don't have a name. I don't have a business card. I don't even have a business license yet. It was just like, do you want to do work together? And that just gave me enough of, I guess, like you said, the curiosity, the courage to want to create something else after that.
Mhm. And I also love the example of like your friend reaching out to you and being like, oh, this is your strength. Like, here's an opportunity. And, or you tapping into your previous experience in sales and then applying that into the fundraiser. Can you talk maybe a little bit more about recognizing your strengths and how you figured out how you wanted to use them?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because I think that's one of the things that I always talk about with clients or other women that like approach me about entrepreneurship is I don't think you necessarily need to. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. You can go out there and do something completely radically different. Like I was selling oranges and now I want to paint pictures. Go for it. For me, it wasn't necessarily about going to learn something altogether different and now go sell that. It was like, okay, what do I know how to do? What am I good at doing? What do I love doing? So I always talk about it like we've got unique strengths, abilities, belief systems. What, is that common and not? What is that sort of like sweet spot in the middle that we can actually monetize and we can actually bring forward? So for me, it was just sitting down and looking at what are the skills, the abilities, the talents that I know I can do, like widespread. So, okay, I can play volleyball. I'm really good at gardening. I love perennial gardens, like all over the place. And I'm also really good at leading people and building organizations. And so I went through literally the whole list. And I would say that to anybody who's listening, like you're good at VLOOKUP tables, you're good at loading the dishwasher properly, like list it all out, just dump it out all in your brain. Because sometimes the negative self-talk will be like, oh, that doesn't matter. No one cares about that. That's just a given. It's your given unique talent could be something that somebody else doesn't have. And that could be the unlock in their business, in their life, in their relationship to help them further on in whatever capacity they want to go on. So it's don't undermine the strength that you have could be the secret sauce to somebody else being successful in whatever objective they want to get. So for me, it was like identifying all those things. Then it was also looking at, well, what are the things that I value? What are the things that I believe in? What are the things that I'm passionate about? And being really clear on that. Like I'm passionate about women getting into entrepreneurship at any age, but specifically at midlife, because I think we're at this intersection for midlife women where we're like, we'll call the sandwich generation for Generation Xers, that we're caring for aging family members and we still may have kids at home and we're juggling all the stuff going on in our life and our health. I care passionately for that group. And then what are your experiences, past, present, and soon to be future, that you could use and service other people with? The fact that I've grown businesses, that I've worked primarily for male CEOs, and now's my opportunity to work for women CEOs. The fact that, yeah, out of nothing, I was able to generate wealth for myself when I was codependent on getting a paycheck every 2 weeks.
Really?
So I think like when you can identify those sort of 3 buckets in your life, the skills, talents, abilities, your beliefs, your passions, your value system, and then your experiences, somewhere in there in that middle where I love Venn diagrams, where they overlap, that sweet spot in the middle,
Yeah.
that's what you should probably do. And you may need to work with a copywriter and figure out the messaging and how to become attractive to somebody else. But I also believe passionately that there's 8 billion people on the planet and somebody needs what you've got.
Yeah.
Your job is to go find those people. Just be who you are because somebody needs what you've got. You don't necessarily need to get 25 more certifications. If you want to, go for it. But probably what you've got right now is good for the other 8 billion people on the planet. You just need to find them and they need to find you.
Yeah, definitely. Being able to show up as your authentic self, you're going to find the people that resonate, and you have to be willing to leave or walk away from the people that aren't resonating with you.
Or
One
not right now. That's the thing. Like I have lots of people
Yeah,
that come to me and say, yeah, Brenda, I'd love to start a business, but it's not a good time for me. I'm like, great. Join my email list. Follow
yeah,
me on Instagram.
yeah,
Still gonna be I'm 55. I'm still gonna be talking this way at 75. I'm not going anywhere.
yeah,
And the way we'll work together when I'm 55 versus 75 may look a little bit different, but my messaging is not gonna change. And I'm still gonna be doing what I'm doing now then. So if it's not good timing for you right now, look me up in 20 years.
yeah. It's like letting go of this need to control or need to have it right now. It's no, if it's not for you right now, it'll be for somebody else. And just letting that flow to you and have
Yeah.
that
But it
flexibility and
but it's also about
freedom.
visibility. So maybe I need to get into new audiences. Like
Right.
I often hear from women, and I remember reading something about this last year with some marketing report that came out through like PwC or Deloitte or some big consulting firm that said women entrepreneurs typically rely on referrals versus male entrepreneurs will go and create new communities and new audiences. And even though there's a lot of women on social media, we love to be on social media and we love to be talking about what we ate for breakfast or our workout routines and all these things. We're not necessarily putting our offers out there into new audiences.
Yeah.
So I think that's a challenge for a lot of women entrepreneurs. And I saw that in my early days is like, so there's like my business pre-COVID and then post-COVID. So pre-COVID, I was like, oh, I would just put a LinkedIn post out and people would call me. I literally didn't have a website the first couple of years of my business. I could just ask my referral network and colleagues would say, yeah, you should go work with this person over here. So it was quite easy for me to generate a multi-six-figure business just off of my referrals. Plus, I was just a couple years out of corporate, so people, okay, what are you up to? Let's talk. Let's get into it. But I think
Mhm.
after a while, your referral pool will start to dry up a little bit. They might even get a little bit frustrated that you keep asking them for a
Yeah.
connection. Who do you know? Who do you know? And so it's a matter of going out and also into some new audiences. So getting on
Mhm.
podcasts like we're doing today, speaking at summits or getting into other people's communities and speaking in their masterminds or their groups, but building your audience. And because you can wait for those people to come around and see the light, but they may never, and that's okay. So in the meantime, you need to be continually building in those new opportunities to connect with people.
Yeah. Definitely there's looking at the data and looking at what you're doing and trying to figure out, okay, yeah, is it an audience issue? Is it a advertising issue? That's definitely part of the process too, but also not holding so tightly to, oh, if this contract doesn't go through, then I'm doomed.
Yeah, it depends on what people's sales processes are, but I've worked with some sales coaches that are like, yeah, follow up 7 times. And I'm like, "Oh, okay,
Yeah.
I'm just going to go to a different ocean. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love this talk about building community because that's just really how you build connections with
Well,
people. And with technology these days, there's just endless ways we can be doing that. And I love that you gave examples of how you can expand your audience and or build a new community, different ways that you can approach it. So, yeah.
yeah, community is absolutely, I think, essential for most entrepreneurs nowadays. Working in a silo by yourself, number one, it's not that fun. Number two, I think you learn a lot more when you're in community and you can leverage resources. I see it every day with the women inside my community. People will be like, hey, I don't know how to do X. And someone will be saying, I know how to do that, or I had to figure out that last month, or actually, that's my business, or I know somebody that could do that. So it's just you get to the result quicker when you work with other people around it. And that was also something that I had to learn on my own a bit through entrepreneurship is like being alone and having to try and figure things out versus, oh, there is actually a community of people that I could leverage. And I might not always get the result that I want, but I know that I can try it out faster and go through things.
Yeah.
But that was also something that wasn't necessarily encouraged when I was in my corporate career. It was very
Mhm.
competitive, women against women a lot of times. I didn't get a lot of mentorship from other like women in that sense because everyone had been struggling to get to the top position themselves. So why
Mhm.
would you help out another woman getting there? It's counterintuitive, but I never really had a lot of that support in my corporate days. So I learned to do things on my own and not really ask for a lot of help just based off of the behaviors that existed in the organizations I worked for. But I think I that's something now that I thread through in my own values. So, like, when I think about my values for my life, it's like collaboration, curiosity, learning, adventure, like, love working with people. Like, those are all, like, really integral for me. If I'm gonna join a community or be a part of a networking group, I wanna know that there's some type of collaboration activity in there. Otherwise, it's no. Like, I already work alone. I don't necessarily need to work alone with more
No.
people.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. Can you talk a little bit about the women that you work with now and what inspired you to work with them and how do you help them through like things like you experience, right? Like the competitive nature of maybe the company they're working with or how they are able to support each other rather than feel like it's, you know, what me against the world kind of
Yeah,
feeling.
no, absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, I work with my clients in a couple different ways. So, I either work with them one to one or inside my membership community. And the membership community is more like teaching, training based, but we do a lot of like collaborative events together so that we can actually grow our audiences, grow our email lists, and then we have more people that we can potentially sell our offers to. And then working with women one to one to help them build out their sales process, build out their business model so that they feel really great about doing it. But I think behind all of that, so there's like the technical part of it and all like the sort of like business sales lingo that we go through. It's specifically midlife women because I think as I mentioned earlier, we juggle a lot. And not to say someone in their 20s doesn't either. It's just a different type of juggling. And it's like where we're at. But the biggest thing that's happening for midlife women right now, and you're hearing more about this in say maybe like the last 18 to 24 months. And it's always been there. It's just never talked about because it was always like the secret word and your mom and your grandmother never talked about it. And that's perimenopause. And perimenopause is a big hormonal change for women. Men go through it as well at midlife, but it's not as pronounced as what women go through. And honestly, if I was still in my corporate job, I don't know how I would be able to function working 60, 70 hours a week as a corporate executive when I was. There's no way that I could do that now. And I can't do that in my business. And so that's, I think, one of the things that I help a lot of the women that I work with out specifically is like, yeah, we'll go through your pricing model and we'll figure out your offer structure and we'll figure out how to sell and where you can find clients. But it's also understanding how do we build a business that really revolves around your health right now, around the competing priorities that you have for your time. Because I think that's the crux that I see a lot of midlife women that are starting to start up their business. They want to leave their corporate job, but they're like, okay, I got kids at home, Brenda. Like, I don't spend any time with my partner, or I just went through a divorce, or I'm going through perimenopause and I've got brain fog and I just don't have the energy to get some things done. That's where I work with them on how do we put systems in place? How do we work on some of the decision making, the choices that you're putting into your business so that you're not designing a business for burnout. You're designing a business that you actually want to be in for the next 20 years and have fun doing it.
No, I love that. Yeah, because I think it's so important to take consideration of the whole person. And as women, we have different needs and different things that come up throughout our lives that in our society that's very masculine driven aren't often accounted for. It's
Yeah.
you just
I mean,
push through. You just keep showing up the exact same way every day. And that's
every day, it's just yeah,
that's not
and
how
it's
we
there
operate.
there are big things that change. Somewhere around the age of, like, 38 to 42, women are gonna experience some massive changes, but then later as they go further on when I was, like, 48, and I didn't even realize I was going through it, so 6 years ago, 47, 48, going through my divorce, quitting my corporate job, and I'm just, like, not feeling great about my whole, like, health, and things were changing physically, and I didn't know what to explain it, and so I didn't even think about going to my doctor. And it would have been really great if my doctor at the time, I have a different doctor now, had called me up and said, oh, by the way, it's December and you're turning 48 and you're probably going through perimenopause and no one's talked to you about it, but this is what you should, these are some of the symptoms that might be happening for you. I wasn't sleeping. I was going through hot flashes. My hair was falling out. And I just thought it was stress related to my divorce. And partly it was, but it was also a bunch of other things. And I think as I started building my business, these things were happening to me hormonally. And I was like still working the same type of schedule I was doing in my corporate job. And it did not feel great.
Yeah.
And yet I didn't want to go back to corporate. So I was like, I got to figure out this whole entrepreneurship, but what is happening to me physically? And then I started, working with more midlife women. They're like, you're going through perimenopause. And I was like, oh, okay. Called my mom up and she's, yeah, that's about the same time I did. I'm like, why didn't you tell me that?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just, but it was always considered a taboo topic not to talk about. And I'm like, okay, but we talk about pregnancy all the time. We talk about having our periods all the time, but yet we don't talk about this critical hormonal change that happens to us at midlife when all these other things are also happening to us. And how great would it be to have a community of women that are starting or growing their businesses, but also going through some common things together. So that's why I really focus on midlife women because yeah, we have tons of experience. We've been on, a nice way of saying it, we've been around the block. We know some things, and yet we don't have to start again. We're not starting from scratch at this point. We know lots. And so that's where I said earlier, like you can go out and get the 17 certifications, but you probably know a lot that you could actually start monetizing and make a business with.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. So thank you for bringing that up, sharing how to build your community centered around that mission, because it is so important, like to think about. I'm just learning about perimenopause and I'm like, oh, because it's on social media now,
It's all over social media. And that's good for women your age and in your age bracket because that didn't exist. And like even from a health nutrition standpoint, work hours. Okay, I could be like running my business and like driving, like burning myself out and thinking I should be working 70 hours a week and still not getting the results. And whether you work 30 hours or 70 hours, it doesn't matter. It's about the system that you have in your business and teaching women that so that we can actually design businesses that we love and that we're not burning ourselves out.
Yeah, I love it. So thank you for what you're doing. I love that that's your message and that you're helping women have the support as they go through not only the business building, what they're going through in their personal life, similar situations. So that's amazing. How can somebody learn from you or join the community or connect with you?
Yeah, so the community is called the Aligned AF community. So we get aligned as fuck, if I could say around our life and our business. That's like the critical piece, right? So we want to make sure that the two are working together and there's not really a separation between them. So we work around our vision, values, and goals. And then we also work on the business systems are, like I said earlier, everything from like offers, pricing, how do we sell our offers? We go through all of that with our community members. And people can join on. The annual membership is $76 for the year or $9 a month. So there's a 30% savings if you join on as an annual member. And you get some different things as an annual member versus a monthly member, like more access to more courses, access to more of me. But there's guest mentors that come in, and we have guest mentors that talk about business-related topics, but also health, wealth, relationships. Like we have a sex and intimacy coach that comes in and talks to us about having a great relationship with our partners. How do we build wealth, not just revenue in our life? And so we'll go through all different sort of domains of our life as well as our business, so that we feel equipped that, again, that whatever we're trying to create, this dream business, that it actually factors in, oh, yes, I actually want to have a deeper connection relationship with my mother or with my spouse or with my kids, and making sure that's available for the members in the community. So that's the community. And if people are interested, they can reach out to me there. And you can find me on Instagram. I talk a lot on Instagram. I'm there. And I have a podcast, which Brittany, you've been on. So that's available for women to check out. And I'm also on YouTube. So
Amazing. And all those links will be in the show notes. Thank you so much, Brenda, for being here today and being a guest on my show this time. It's just been great to connect with you. So thank you.
You as well, Brittany. And thanks everyone for listening today.
Thanks for tuning in to the Career Change for Women podcast. If you've loved this episode, leave a review. It helps more women find the show. Feeling stuck in your career? Let's connect. Follow me on social media at Shift Your Day Job or email me at shiftyourdayjob@gmail.com. Until next time, I'm Brittany Cates. Let's shift your day job together.